With a Ouija board in hand, a YouTuber named Contagious Noise takes her girlfriend and her sister to an old barn that's just beyond city limits. They are positive that this barn is very haunted and therefore the perfect place to contact the other side. The group laughs and carries on playfully at first, but it isn't long before the situation grows alarmingly serious. Tell me if it really looks like the pointer is moving all by itself here.
On my grandma, I'm not doing it. Garrett?
I swear on everything. I'm not. Look at my fingers.
Soon they contact the spirit of a 4-year-old who could possibly be named Ryan. They are trying to ask it more questions when out of nowhere it spells out the name Grace, which is the name of one of the girls. The spirit doesn't seem to want to give any real answers. Sometimes the Ouija board simply spells letters at random. Just when they get the feeling that a spirit is messing with them, a random noise confirms their suspicions.
Or ask who the 4-year-old was. Why they're here?
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Each one of them promises that they are not playing a joke and they decide to try again. This time the Ouija board spells out a single word.
Help? Say goodbye.
This video is also posted on my Chills Narrator subreddit by a user named Bboars. Whenever they find themselves at this particular highway intersection, their Lexus starts beeping out of control.
Okay, this intersection, it always happens here.
These innovative car sensors are designed to alert the driver when someone is in front of the car. No one is anywhere near them, but here you see both of the yellow arrows are lit, meaning it detects someone straight ahead. Seconds later, you can see the right arrow is on, which means that someone is now moving to the right. I just wanted to stress that this never happens at any other intersections, only this one. And according to Bboars, this event has occurred 4 times in the past 2 years alone. With this evidence in mind, this intersection could definitely be the haunting ground of someone who didn't make it across the road in one piece. A large white creature has been constantly creeping around the yard of a YouTuber named Sans for a long time now and no one knows what it is. The latest sighting happens during broad daylight and his camera is able to pick up more detail than ever before. You can see here that the creature is not very big, roughly around the same size of a nearby dog, and judging from this dog's behavior, I'd say this is clearly a real creature and not one of his friends wearing a costume. If you need more proof that this isn't a person, watch how it scratches its head with its foot at a weird angle. No human would be able to kick that fast. I would say that this is a rabbit, but I don't really see any ears and the legs look distinctly human when it walks. Tell me what animal you think this is. Until I get a better explanation, I will continue thinking that this is probably a humanoid of some kind. Is something living in this underground train station? Posted on the r/ghosts subreddit by Ben Taylor. The scary video shows the behind the scenes nature of the underground at Crewe Station in the UK. As the Redditor and his friend walk through the station, mysterious haunting noises echo through the underground. Like a creature is roaring or wailing, like an animal. The roaring repeats over and over. The boys walk through a fenced-in area and the sound gets louder, but its source isn't any more apparent.
It stopped. Do you not hear it? Stop.
Yeah.
The sound repeats and then changes a little, causing the cameraman to turn around and hightail it out of there. It stops for a moment but then continues again as they decide to retreat.
Come on, get out. I'm going because we've got to do tricks anyway.
The Redditor writes, the area was checked for dogs, animals, and even an injured security guard by transport police. as the noise was causing the staff to stay away from the area. No dogs, no humans, no pipes were there for the dog to stick its nose in. A howl down, and security informed us nothing was found the next day, but the noise returned the next night. One Redditor in the comments, Nululus, says it might be a small deer species that's an invasive breed in the UK called the muntjac deer. Others still think it's an injured dog or a piece of machinery, but the Redditor seems to lean toward the paranormal, as he says other employees have heard strange noises and seen unexplained objects moving. We could make theories all day, but it's only the Redditor and his co-workers who witnessed it in person. So if they're saying it's paranormal, I think that explanation makes the most sense to me. If you knowingly lived in a haunted house, would you stay? Donnie Drunkard did. Published to YouTube in December of 2020, this paranormal activity will run you out of Donnie Drunkard's home. Donnie writes, after trying to recover footage that I thought was lost, I found these clips from last year documenting the earliest days of paranormal and poltergeist activity manifesting in my haunted house. The footage first shows Donnie playing with his dog Terry, but later that night Donnie notes that the atmosphere changed and that they heard voices and sounds coming from upstairs. Terrifying clinking and clanking bursts through the darkness. Terry is growling as Donnie grabs for his Bible and starts to pray.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
As Terry tries to escape under a table for comfort.
Terry, come here. Terry. Come on. Come on, Terry. We gotta go.
Donnie gathers him up to flee this mayhem for a time as they head out for a drive. In the background, an overhead light is swinging back and forth while they are away. A closet door near where the sound originated opens slowly. Nothing exits. YouTuber Brenda Luke writes, that hallway, it's not just darkness, it's advanced darkness. I'd be leaving that haunted house immediately. Two friends sneak into a large abandoned house in Sellersburg, Indiana, and take a look around. They don't go into much detail about the local legends aside from mentioning this place has a long haunted history that dates back 3 decades, so they should be ready for anything. Most of the rooms are littered with nothing but rotting garbage, but a couple spaces look to be somewhat organized and even have furniture, so they start calling out to anyone who might be inside.
Hello? Is anybody here?
It isn't long before someone hears their calls and silently responds.
Dude, this is creepy. Oh my god, get the f out! Get the f out! Oh my god! Oh my god!
A tall figure wearing a Michael Myers mask passes by the doorway without a sound. Obviously, Michael Myers is a Hollywood legend and not a real person, but that doesn't mean there isn't someone who idolizes him a little too much. This could be a fake video, or maybe this is an imitator who dresses like this to keep intruders out of their home, in which case that blade might be real. Sometimes anger comes in the form of a crazy woman guarding her property. For YouTuber Jack Z in May of 2018, this was the case. Jack explains that he and his friends were riding along a trail they'd never explored. It led to a stranger's property, but it wasn't clear that they were on private property, as there weren't signs or fences around it. And in the video, it really doesn't appear private. It looks like a forest, a free-for-all. According to Jack, as they were heading out, a woman came out of nowhere and started confronting them.
I'm sorry, get off!
I'm sick and tired of you bull.
This is the first time I'm here!
Bull! You guys are here all the time,
No, it's
scaring
not
my horses.
Grabbing hold of Jack's backpack to throw him off balance, which led him to busting his brake on a downed tree that was in front of him. As he climbs out from under his bike, she can be heard screaming at his friends as well. She then gets in his face, saying that him and his friends are there every weekend on her private property, scaring her horses. Jack writes, moral of the story is to be careful of what trails you choose to follow. It seems to me that this chilling event was just one big misunderstanding, and I hope this woman doesn't choose to act this way in similar future situations. The Hinsdale house in New York is haunted, and these paranormal explorers are about to find out just how haunted it truly is. Early on, the spirits don't seem to want to be recorded.
It's funny here.
The REM pod upstairs starts going off.
Is that your REM upstairs?
Shh. Yeah, I turned it on. It's up in Laura's doorway.
Well, can you hear it?
It was beeping.
It was, yeah. It's going off again up there.
After hearing a woman talking in the kitchen, the REM pod is triggered again.
Are you here with us right now?
You wanna?
I think she said, ask me or ask me.
The crew is then given a clear message via a spirit box.
I'm gonna take a couple pictures. That's not.
What did that say? Run.
Run.
Hey.
When they don't leave, the spirits continue to interact. They even ask for help.
Can you light it up again in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Is this what the dandies had to deal with on the regular? No wonder they fled this house. An ill individual trapped in a derelict home. What could go wrong? Published by Scary Pills in October of 2021, this scary video has been trending in the Hindi-speaking YouTube community. The original source is unknown. The video shows some urban explorers in a dilapidated home. They push the door open to one room and capture this person in a white gown with long dark hair crouched on the floor in a corner. The person appears to be playing with an object on the floor with a stick. One of the crew keeps calling the person a psychopath and tells him to come say hello.
It's the psychopath. It's the psychopath, Rob. Go and say hello. Go and say hello, Robert.
Instead, the person throws something at him. Is this individual insane? Or is she trapped in this haunted home that she can never leave? All I know is I wouldn't be sticking around to find out. I apologize for the poor quality of this video, but the backstory is too good to pass up. The Newcastle High School in Indiana received a notification from their security company that something weird was going on. So they looked at the CCTV videos to see exactly what the problem was.
See here, the lights are off in the choir room.
I'm actually freaking out right now. Me too.
The power goes out.
Oh my gosh,
okay.
This is scaring me.
So I'm thinking that the power going off is weird enough, but look what happens when it comes back on.
The lights are on. What the?
Did you see that? The light came on.
I'm no electrician, but if the lights in the other room were off before the power outage, then they shouldn't come back on unless someone was in the room to mess with the switch. But as far as anyone knows, it was late at night and the school was empty, so I don't know how this could be. You may think you're alone, but are you really? Posted to TikTok by Tayasha, this one is bound to give you the heebie-jeebies. On what looks to be a stormy night, the TikToker is walking around an abandoned building when she spots this in the window. The dark-haired figure appears ghoulish, staring out at the passerby. What do you think this mystery figure wants, and who is it waiting for? This has either gotta be the paranormal or a very elaborate hoax. There's simply no in-between. A YouTuber named Paloma Renee decides to buy a supposed ghost off eBay. She receives this letter describing an old ghost from the 1800s that has haunted their home for years before being captured in a jar. The instructions look like they were typed in a hurry and are incomplete. Despite this warning, Paloma and her friend unleash the ghost and use a Ouija board to communicate. They aren't taking this very seriously at all and ask some pretty silly questions for about 5 minutes. They get mostly non-answers in return and are ready to end the session. But first they check to see if they offended the ghost. This is their cursed reply.
Yeah. Or wait, are you gonna haunt us? Like, are you gonna make our life hell? Jin, don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Watch their hands again and tell me if you think this is a real paranormal answer, or if they are moving the pointer themselves. The team from Casa Sobrenatural is visiting a house with a malignant demon in this scary clip. At first, they think they see something.
É muito assustador, velho.
Ah, vai se lascar. Vocês escutaram?
Killer.
Por Deus, você mexeu aquela
cadeira, cara. O que mexeu?
Por Deus, que mexeu, Sandro.
Mexeu o que, Killer?
Mexeu a cadeira, por Deus, Sandro. Você não viu, Sozinho? Eu vi, cara, eu escutei.
And then that something makes its presence known.
Por Deus, sabe mexeu? Não, acho que você tava vendo alguma coisa aqui.
Meu Deus do céu! Filho da puta, cara, que é isso, cara?
When they dare to enter, things get more aggressive.
Meu Deus do céu, cara! Sai, sai, sai! Meu Deus do céu, tio! Você viu que bateu lá, cara? Bateu lá! Jesus amado, bateu, cara.
What is inside? They think it's over, but the demon has one last scare in store for them.
Hã? Pare com isso, cara. Não guarda aqui. Caralho, mexeu a cadeira de novo. Escutou? Eu escutei. Escutou que... Meu Deus do céu. Cara, arrastou essa cara. Vamos embora. Vamos embora, pelo amor de Deus. Pelo amor de Deus, eu vou rezar. Cara do céu, velho.
In my opinion, there's something truly evil in this house. You can just feel it. Robin Adrie is the name of a YouTube channel with an interesting Ouija board experiment at 3 a.m.
Is there any spirits out here that would like to contact us?
They try to get the ghost to spell its name, but the session gets off to a bad start after they complain about how slow the ghost is at spelling. This seems to aggravate the spirit, and it asks to speak with Rob's twin brother Steven by spelling its name over and over again. The spirit goes on to profess that it does not have good intentions for his brother Steve.
Do you want to hurt Steven?
After a while, the Ouija board stops spelling Steven long enough to spell out Zozo instead. They eventually end the session properly, and even get assured that they will be left alone in the future.
You said that you will not haunt us, right? Thank you so much, we really appreciate it.
But it seems as though Zozo may have been luring them into a false sense of security. As they are leaving, they see a rattlesnake nearby, and it seems to be paying special attention to Steven. Rob and Adrie are convinced that Zozo was sending them a warning sign in the form of a serpent, but I think this could also just be a coincidence. Let me know what you think. There's no more haunted a place than a 20th century lockup. Published to YouTube by Heather Hauntings in March of 2020, Heather and her man are staying in a cell where inmates have allegedly passed away. The result? Major paranormal activity as evidenced in these 2 videos. Last used in 1984, the jailhouse was once the scene of at least one life-taking, and another person locked up took their own life. Of course, with such a twisted history, many believe former inmates now haunt its grounds. Paranormal investigators have heard caustic sounds, footsteps, and voices. Even the historian believes the place is haunted. Bullard told the Jasper News, "Let's just say I went to the front door and left quickly. I heard something. I saw something that moved like a shadow, and I didn't stick around."
Here all night?
It seems enough of a warning for these paranormal investigators to know they're about to experience something truly chilling. In one video, they explore talking to the spirits via the spirit box, meanwhile hearing strange noises throughout the building. At one point, when they black out the room, loads of EVPs can be heard on the spirit box. In the second video, as they're staying overnight in the cell, they attempt to communicate with the spirits again. After asking if another inmate took the life of the spirit, they hear a distinctive yes twice on the EVP.
Yes. That was a very clear yes.
At around 14 minutes 30 seconds into the video, they start to hear the lightest of footsteps. They attempt to catch some shut-eye in the cell, and around 3 a.m., the witching hour, something bangs loudly, awakening them. Around the same time they heard this noise, Greg says he felt something touch his leg. Needless to say, they couldn't go back to sleep in the cell. Could you? I certainly wouldn't. A YouTuber named Alone in the Dark takes a 2-hour tour of a haunted hospital that has been out of commission for a long time. He repeatedly hears noises and gets signs that he is not alone. Like here, for example, when you can see a light appear out of nowhere in response to his voice.
Seems I hear ringing.
At one point on an upper floor, he finds a long streak of dried red liquid running down the wall from a nearby ceiling vent. It almost looks like someone was grabbed from above by something terribly strong and pulled up into the ventilation duct, where they met a horrible fate.
Looks like blood.
Something else strange about this video is how all of the cabinet doors that he passes by seem to be flung open. Cabinets opening by themselves is a classic sign of a haunting, so take that for what you will. When he is finally ready to leave, the paranormal events really pick up in ways you'll never guess.
There's a lot more going on in this thing.
First, he hears an ambulance pull up to the defunct hospital, and then he sees shimmering lights on the ground. It could just be broken glass reflecting into the beam of his flashlight, but then again, it could be a paranormal energy signature. Either way, the timing of the ambulance siren is too much of a coincidence for me to believe this was anything normal. Things are about to get creepy on this CCTV video taken from a restaurant somewhere in China. A man looks in the cooler and decides to help himself to something else. A while later, he takes a seat near a woman who's looking the other way. 26 seconds is when he looks over and then he goes for it, taking something in her jacket, probably a purse, and walking straight out the door. He's fumbling around for quite some time and likely has to undo a button or two to abscond with her belongings. If only she had turned around the other way, he would have been caught in person and not just on camera. For those of you who think this isn't a scary video, try getting stranded in another country with no passport, money, credit cards, or phone. That's a situation only for the brave if I've ever heard one. Steve Beltran sees an infected deer on his street and begins recording this brief 10-second video as proof. The poor deer looks to be in a total panic as it spins in place, completely oblivious to Steve and his camera. Maybe it's just me, but Steve seems to be standing way too close here. The zombie deer could accidentally stumble over and fall on him. All I'm saying is I definitely wouldn't want to come into close physical contact with anything that's been infected, especially with CWD. Stalking should never be taken lightly, as is made clear by this next video, published by Terry TV in December of 2020. A streamer named Ellie Gatto, dressed in costume, is walking through the streets of a Japanese city at night. Fun, right? Well, it was until this guy showed up. The stalker, captured on camera, is not even trying to hide his intent, walking alongside the streamer with a sword known as a katana. He smiles as Ellie Gatto laughs uncomfortably.
Why is this following us? Why is he following us? Let's go this way. Oh god.
When she and her friend double around to try and lose him, the man follows. Ellie Gatto says they should go find her friend's husband. As she continues to try and lose the man, her laughter turns to real fear and concern. She even starts running as she attempts to call someone on the phone. She is brought to tears as the man gives chase. Fear Tales explains that a bystander noticed what was going on and pointed the girls to a hospital for protection.
This Can I help us go to police?
He is seen in the video running alongside El Gato and serving as a witness to the man's predatory behavior. Later, the stalker is seen being led by authorities into a station. Although this scenario seemingly started as a joke, it quickly took a terrifying turn. Thankfully, this bystander didn't just stand by. Did you know that man has explored more of Mars and the moon than we've explored the depths of our own oceans? Which leads us to some of the strangest oddities on Earth, including this one, the giant's pyrosome, looking like a large transparent tube slide. A giant's pyrosome is comprised of thousands of identical clones of zooids that form an up to 60-foot hollow cylinder that can be wide enough for a grown man to fit inside. The free-floating tube appears like a ghostly discarded piece of see-through fabric known as sea pickles. Giant pyrosomes are bioluminescent, which means you can see them glowing blue-green in the sea at night. Published to YouTube by Ross Overstreet in June of 2018 and supplemented by footage from Luis Bringas in December of 2014. This giant pyrosome off the southern coast of San Clemente Island will send you off the deep end. These videos show the creature in action, or rather inaction, as it floats unobtrusively near the seafloor. What would you do if you crossed paths with this oceanic nightmare? Would you be brave enough to swim through? And more importantly, would you make it to the other side? A YouTuber named Sammy Pena is waiting in the car alone when a total stranger walks up and tries to open all of her doors. I think this is far from an honest mistake, because listen to how hard he pulls on the handle. He was really hoping that someone didn't shut their door all the way. But the real giveaway is how he doesn't even try to unlock the driver's door. He probably knows from experience that this door is almost always locked and not worth bothering with. Between her tinted windows and sunglasses, he seems not to notice anyone's in the back seat at all. He casually walks away empty-handed, at least until someone forgets to lock their doors.
Oh man, look at him.
This is a really humorous and random situation, but let's face it, if a wild seabird were to land on you, I don't think many of us would be able to take it with a smile like this brave cameraman does. He makes no sudden movements, not wanting to attract the bird's hungry gaze or its beak to his fingers. Believe it or not, I looked up pelican human encounters and found out that the sides of its beak are razor sharp, so this situation could have actually gone wrong quick. I don't know whether this pelican wanted to take some of his fingers or take a rest, but it seems to realize it's outnumbered and takes off. Paranormal investigator Tim Morozov has seen a lot in his line of work, but he calls this the worst night he's ever had in a haunted house. Let's see why. First, something appears on his monitor. A little later, the lights go out. Then something lets itself in. Tim checks it out. When he doesn't find anything, he decides to sleep, but he really shouldn't. The demon seems to have choked him. And that's not the end of it. He He says the inscription was written as if from inside the mirror. Later, the demon is again captured creeping on the monitor.
Можете дать мне знак?
As Tim looks for him, he's found hiding. And the game continues. Until the demon makes its move. I don't think I've seen a demon appear on camera like that before. And then for it to get so aggressive, Tim is lucky to have made it out alive. When American Airlines Flight 280 took off from Seoul, South Korea, heading to Dallas, none of the 240 passengers aboard the flight knew they were about to take the scariest ride of their lives, but that's just what happened. The plane encountered severe turbulence, which was caught on camera by passengers. The turbulence was so severe that the flight was diverted to Tokyo. After 15 people aboard the flight were injured, 5 of them being hospitalized. One passenger, Mark Stanley, an attorney in Dallas, told the Morning News they were diverted after 45 plus minutes of insane turbulence. The remaining passengers were put up in Tokyo for the night, but not sure if I'd have the stomach to get back on a plane the next day. Although this haunted mansion has long been abandoned, its heart is still beating. Published by Lewis Clark in October of 2021, a group of paranormal explorers came across something incredibly chilling in this haunted home. On the door outside, black handprints are pasted with a trace of what I hope is ketchup down the middle. After entering the home, Lewis shows viewers where he found a lifeless body in a fridge the last time he entered. He says the fridge has now been removed.
This is where I found the dead body, right there, in a fridge. The fridge is no longer here. It's right there. That was where the fridge was.
In the darkness, Lewis plays a trick on his cameraman, but they soon find there's no need for tricks because this place is legit haunted. When they look more closely at the objects inside these canisters, they realize the chilling truth of what they are.
What is that then? What is that?
Getting a closer look, the organs appear to be hearts floating in red liquid. Although Lewis admits that they likely aren't human, how do we know for sure? I hope this team got a hold of the authorities just in case. While exploring an abandoned house, make note of what happens in your periphery. Published in March of 2021, the footage you're about to see was recorded in France around 11 p.m. as a pair of paranormal investigators round the corner of a dark, empty room. They discover that it isn't empty after all. Just beyond a picture that's leaning against the wall, a figure moves quickly out of sight as the light falls upon it. It happens so fast that it's difficult to see what the figure even is, but it appears as though it's crouched slightly as it rises up before pulling out of view. The two-man crew approaches the hallway to investigate, but there's nothing there. Did it somehow soundlessly disappear into one of these rooms? Or as we suspect, did it disappear into thin air? A YouTuber named X Hauntings is recording a video of some home improvements in the basement when he records a bizarre white object traveling his way at a high velocity. Normally I would say that this could be a bug or a speck of dust, but X Hauntings also recorded this crazy voice as as the object passes by. Tell me if you hear a woman's voice yell, "Get out," as loud as she can. In this next part, I have no idea. I would say dust, but dust particles do not act like this. This live broadcast captures what appears to be an impossible error on camera. Watch the news anchor on the left and see what happens. Here it is again in slow motion in case you missed it. Everything from a hologram to an alien has been proposed, but I guess it could be some kind of camera malfunction. Maybe someone who knows more about cameras can let me know if this is a technical malfunction or not. If you ever crept through cemeteries looking for ghosts, then you might regret finding them. This video was posted in March of 2012 saying, "Been taking video of local cemeteries for a while and examining them from frame to frame. Found the image of what looks like the ghost of a young boy from around the early 1900s by the way he is dressed. The video was filmed in Kinder Cemetery, and as the sign reads, the cemetery was established in 1902, so plenty of time for ghosts to lay down their claim. As the camera pans the cemetery, you can see a short-lived flash of light near a grave. Can you spot it?" While some in the comments of this video doubt that it was anything more than a flash, others like YouTuber Dang Cho claim to see hair sticking out of the red circle. YouTuber Yvette Sanchez notes that it is an apparition. Of course, the ghost is not going to be easy to spot, but if you look hard enough, you can see something is there. Well, you can certainly see a flash. It's a bit of a stretch to say the ghost is of a young boy from the early 1900s in my opinion. You can't really make out anything more than the light. But what is that glow? Is it the young spirit shining? Or is it just a trick of the light? If you're afraid of heights, you'd better close your eyes for this one. The sky pool at the Market Square Tower in Houston, Texas is leaving nothing to the imagination. At 500 feet above the ground, the pool offers terrifying below-foot views of the busy roadway 500 feet down. The sky pool has a glass bottom, allowing swimmers to see what it feels like to be a flying fish, as the video, uploaded by NYC Yank in Texas in January of this year shows. When you swim out towards the edge of the infinity pool, you're walking on air. 42 floors above street level. One of the developers told the publication Paper City, "We thought it would be an attention grabber, and it has been. Hopefully it doesn't grab swimmers' attention too much. Wouldn't want them swimming over the edge, 42 floors up." This creepy video has been floating around the internet for quite some time, and I've never been able to find a source. It was taken by paranormal ghost hunters researching an abandoned house in Russia. They unknowingly pass over a mysterious figure in the corner who was caught on video but apparently not seen in real life. Maybe it's just me, but it looks like she could be wearing the very same dress that they find laying outside of the room moments later, in which case her body is probably nearby as well. Weirdest of all is this small object in front of her. It's too out of focus to tell for sure, but I think it might be a creepy doll caught on camera looking at them too. A boy thinks he's caught a real ghost sighting. He's checking himself out on camera when suddenly a ghost face in the window moves towards him before disappearing back into the night. There's a lot of pixelation around the boy's head, which at first I thought was due to a cheap camera, but then I realized this is probably a green screen. If you look closely, the ghostly figure in the window is wearing a red shirt that's similar to what he's wearing, so it's probably the same person. I think he recorded himself in the window and then superimposed it over this second video to make it seem like a genuine reaction to a real ghost sighting. It's pretty clever and almost fooled me until I took a second look. This giant sky disturbance over Japan was captured on multiple cameras in 2013, so there's little doubt that it is real. The question then becomes not if this happened, but rather what caused it. I think that this was most likely a comet, but others claim this is clearly a failed Russian rocket launch or even a UFO. Watch this part and you can see how the comet becomes very bright as it hits Earth's atmosphere and then fizzles out quickly. At the same time, I can definitely see how people would think this was a UFO blasting into deep space or a rocket disintegrating. It does seem to kind of disappear without warning, so let me know which of these 3 possibilities you think it was. 2 friends think they may have recorded the presence of a spirit when they entered a graveyard late at night. Here's their evidence. Look at the back row of tombstones on the right and focus on the one that's closest to the road.
I only see what's in front of us. We'll turn that shit off.
An intense source of light plays over the gravestone. It could be a reflection of their headlights bouncing off some glass, but something seems a little off about the angle, and if this gravestone was not made of glass, then there is absolutely no explanation for this video. Let me know if you think this is real, or if they got fooled by their own car.
I only see what's in front of us. We'll turn that shit off.
When a jinn comes to play, it's generally gloves off. Published by Hassan Barbar in June of 2021. This scary video was filmed inside a not so abandoned building. The building alone is frightening, but when Hassan arrives at this room, it becomes more so. The jinn starts throwing things around, and when he enters, he gets pipes thrown at him. Things are being flung at all angles, so Hassan retreats into an adjacent room for safety, but the jinn won't let him hide out forever. It shoves something in the empty hole where a doorknob should be, and soon it bursts the door open.
Sure.
Hassan re-enters the haunted but now quiet room. As he continues around the building, the jinn gets angrier and angrier. This continues and doesn't let up. Eventually, he's had enough and goes to leave, but as he does, it appears he's pushed down the stairs by an invisible force. A lot of racket is heard afterward. It looks like a door was thrown down the stairs at him. Was this the jinn's doing? It looks like he's not playing at all. I think everyone should be staying far away from this place. What should have been a fun day at the zoo quickly becomes a nightmarish scenario when a child named Timmy finds himself wedged in the folds of an elephant statue by the leg.
Timmy's leg is stuck in the under elephant.
First, the YouTubers try to handle this situation themselves without any help.
Move this leg.
It gets stuck even more.
There.
Soon, zoo officials notice the commotion and try their best to assist. When that fails, Timmy knows the situation is getting serious. A team of rescue workers arrive almost 20 minutes into the whole ordeal. By now, Timmy is distressed and I feel pretty bad for him. I also don't see any signs warning to stay off of this elephant statue. So if anything happens to him, the zoo could be in a lot of trouble. Eventually, they are able to pry the trunk up long enough to remove the scared child and spare the statue. Timmy now has to go to the hospital to get checked on, but as far as I know, everything is okay with his leg in the long run. I'm curious to find out if you think the zoo should be held responsible for the hospital bills based on what you've seen. This abandoned prison castle was built in 1865 and was used to house all types of scary people. It was a transitory prison before sending prisoners to hard labor or exile. Now it apparently houses actual ghosts. Published by Toppy in November of 2021, these paranormal investigators went to visit the dark and mysterious place. Here is what they found. Outside, they walk around the wall where lives were ended. Then they head inside. The investigator notes that they say they've heard some coughing. Inside the cells, they listen but hear nothing. They come across strange windows, perhaps built for ventilation, lockable slots, likely to deliver food to the inmates, and a shower room. In one hallway, they find this figure, posed like a statue. We aren't sure what its story is, but it towers over the place like it's floating. At one point, a strange, unexplained noise is recorded as they're talking, and another sound is heard, like blowing on metal. They also hear a door bang at a distance. They say they feel like they're not alone here. Perhaps they aren't, but is their company alive or paranormal? YouTuber named Jason L is rock climbing with his friend Kevin when they come across a narrow and claustrophobic crevice. Not wanting to get left behind, Jason follows Kevin's lead, but his resolve weakens considerably about midway through.
Kinda wishing we didn't come in here, Kevin. Why? I'm pretty terrified.
Barely 10 seconds later, Jason takes the worst step of his life.
Oh no. Here, give me the camera. My foot's stuck. My foot's stuck. I'm so serious, I can't move.
After some initial panic, he steps out of his shoe and manages to dislodge it. After some effort with both hands, look again and you can see what would have happened if Jason L had tripped and fallen forward. Instead of stepping out of his shoe, it's a sharp drop down a series of spiky rocks that could have easily resulted in shattered bones and an emergency airlift. Yes, poltergeists can be powerful, but this one is like its own microburst. Published by Find Ghost in August of 2021, this haunting footage was originally captured on a security camera in April of 2009, just after midnight. The footage shows an empty room with chairs stacked along one side. One chair is overturned in the middle of the room like it was flung there, and after seeing what happens next, perhaps it was, an object falls off a table, one of the stacked chairs wobbles back and forth, then all of a sudden all the chairs burst, as if flung forward simultaneously. A moment later, another invisible burst in the room sends all the objects flying momentarily into the air. In the last split second, everything flies sky high again. What is happening in this haunted room, and what will happen next? 1974, Disneyland opened up a new attraction called America Sings, where robotic animals would sing together as one. Animatronics was a relatively new technology at the time, and this footage was taken just weeks after the attraction debuted.
Yankee Doodle liked the South, sang their song so dear, thought they were most elegant for everyone to hear.
The show is going as planned until a loud interruption happens just seconds after the lights go down. What you just heard was supposedly the final screams of a Disneyland employee named Deborah Stone. Deborah was an announcer for America Sings, and she passed away after accidentally stepping into a powerful mechanical device used to rotate the walls of the theater. Apparently, Deborah's demise is a true story, but I can't tell if this scream was really hers or added in later. The scream itself does sound a little too clear to me, and possibly sounds like it was recorded using modern equipment, but I'm definitely not an expert in this department. If you think this scream was real, then be sure to let me know how you can tell. Nadim Shah suspects he's caught some paranormal things on video when he goes exploring an abandoned building that is little more than pillars in the dark. He suspects a place this creepy has to be haunted, and the ghost hunter's instincts are not wrong.
हम देखते हैं अगर हमें कोई यहाँ पे भारी चीज़ या कोई जिनों का साया नज़र आता है कि नहीं। हम जिन की तलाश में निकल तो ओह नाजरीन, ये कुछ हिलता हुआ हमें नज़र आया है। तो ये आवाज़ें कैसी आ रही हैं? आए नाजरीन, हम हिम्मत करके वहाँ जाने की कोशिश करते।
2 ghost sightings are enough for Nadim. He needs a paranormal encounter up close to be fully convinced. He follows the ghost into the darkness for one final sighting.
इसको देखते हैं ये कौन सी मखलूक है, क्या चीज़ है। इसको हम पकड़ने की कोशिश करते हैं। ये इस तरफ से नज़र आ रही है, इधर से हम जाने की कोशिश करते हैं।
He's all alone when a slow-moving shadow figure glides across the pillar without making a sound. It's not someone walking behind him either, because Nadim would already be blocking out the light himself. It's a real ghost sighting as far as I'm concerned. A paranormal entity, a moving shadow that deeply creeps him out and sends him on his way. Enough said. A man finds himself trapped on the 30th floor of the Shinjuku Center building in Tokyo after the entire city was rocked by a 9.1 quake. Now nowhere is safe and there is nothing left to do except to record as doors and cabinets swing open uncontrollably and the entire building shakes.
Oh! Over there! What's down there? What's down there?
Everything grows eerily silent, and then this voice cuts through the speakers. There is a lot of frantic chatter in the background, so I think it was a live broadcast, not a recording. Try and translate if you can, because if you were there, your life may have very well have depended on following these instructions.
この建物は地震に対して安全な設計になっております。
After a while, the speakers turn off, and the guest hopelessly watches as the buildings sway like trees. It's kind of hard to see what I'm talking about, because the building he's in is shaking too. This second video, taken near the top floor of the Shinjuku Center building, shows how bad the shaking really was. The buildings look like they are going to topple at any moment, but they are actually designed to be incredibly flexible and can withstand intense vibrations. Keep in mind that these are just the smaller aftershocks and not the actual quake itself, which was, believe it or not, much worse. The grounds where a double life-taking has occurred is no place to be at night. The guys in this video learned that the hard way. Published to YouTube by the Valspire family in October of 2017, this ghost investigation has all the right ingredients for fear: a storm, an abandoned house at night in the middle of the woods, and a Ouija board. The host, Aiden, says the house has a super creepy backstory and is said to be haunted. The story goes that 2 male lovers built a mansion up in the woods, as such things weren't accepted at the time. The men had their lives taken in this home. The suspects received life sentences in 1982, but the fact that the police investigation turned up occult tools and books, along with the macabre decor of the home, turned the event into a media circus. The men were labeled devil worshippers. And now back to this video. The ghost investigators leave their house at midnight in a storm, planning to arrive at Coursewood Manor at 3 a.m. They drive into the woods and then set out on foot on the path, not sure where they are, ready to get lost. They arrive at a fork in the road and finally find their way to the abandoned manor. Aiden hears a grumbling, which he admits may be thunder.
I heard like a grumbling, but that might have been thunder.
He says that his camera, with its full battery, keeps shutting off every time they attempt to start with the Ouija board. At 3 in the morning, they begin asking the Ouija board if anyone had their life taken there. Nothing happens, but they do hear something in the vicinity. Aiden says that he wants to go check it out and thinks it sounded like someone walking.
I heard someone over there.
Jared is freaked out, hearing another sound in the trees. He thinks it was probably the wind.
Dude, I heard something.
No, you did not.
They decide to leave because Jared can't take it anymore. Can you blame him? Aiden recalls that when he sat at the Ouija board and opened up the portal to the spirit world, he forgot to say goodbye, and he claims that ever since then, weird stuff has been happening. All I know is that place seriously seemed haunted. A London YouTuber named King of Bongo is trying to explore the Queen's Hotel while staying one step ahead of a security guard. Down one of the dirty halls is a formation that King of Bongo suspects could be the Grim Reaper himself. It looks like it's sitting down facing him with its skeletal hands folded patiently across its lap. But here at 2 minutes and 14 seconds, I feel like it could be an illustration caused by 3 objects stacked together, maybe chairs. He hurries down 3 flights of steps and is searching for an exit when he hears this mystery noise coming from a few rooms over. You and I both heard something near, but a quick glance reveals only these empty rooms. King of Bongos finally meets up with his friend and explains that they are being followed. They hear footsteps that are very light and moving at a good pace towards them.
Wait, there's someone else in here, Go, just go. Just go.
Here's the thing though, a security guard would probably announce themselves and ask if anyone was there. That never happened. So was it the security guard, or was it whatever it was that he thought he saw down the hall? Rain and Geno of Sinister RP return to finish a paranormal grudge, one that began at the cemetery, a haunted apartment that they are left with. 3 days ago is when they went exploring here for the first time, the Boyd Cemetery, somewhere in Canada. That's when a ghost decided that if they wanted to explore its home, then it's only fair to explore theirs. Later that night, they are able to make spiritual contact by using a ghost hunting app. The creepy conversation does not go well.
Can you tell me your name? If there is anything following me, you are not allowed to anymore.
The voice of a ghost named Ernest is followed by the sarcastic voice of a little ghost girl who says too bad at the very notion of banishing them. Ernest too sounds sarcastic when he says goodbye.
I said goodbye.
Their replies occur in real time and make sense, so they could have been actual EVPs from the other side. Rain and Geno are not the type to be intimidated in their own home, and so they bravely return to the cemetery 3 days later for a final showdown, but the ghost's voices only mock her as she scorns and warns them.
Please do not follow us home. You are not allowed to follow us home. You are not allowed to attach yourselves to us or anything that we have here. We are going now. Goodbye.
The spirits don't sound very convinced, and as they back out of the Boyd Cemetery in silence, they think they catch a glimpse of a fiendish figure crouching behind a marker, perhaps old Ernest himself. That's not part of the architecture in my opinion. It only looks more supernatural and creepy when you zoom in. Perhaps coming back here has done more harm than good. Sinister RP believes they have caught a real ghost sighting caught on camera. Tell me if you agree with their paranormal evidence, or if you have an alternative explanation. When ghosts just won't leave you alone, what more can you do but investigate? Published to YouTube by Ghosts of Carmel, Maine. In December of 2017, this 4-part paranormal series has it all. In the first video, the homeowner explains that the ghosts in his home just won't leave him be. He welcomes the good ghosts to stay, but the activity has skyrocketed.
Not the one that's saying it. Hello? Is anybody in here?
He says they're constantly saying his name. In the first video, while running the spirit box, the spirit tells him, "It's me." When he asks who's in here, the spirit says, "Just you, Kent." The spirit also tells him, "It's my house, I need help, Rachel's in trouble." All throughout the clip, he hears other EVPs and disembodied voices, even without using the spirit box. In parts 2, 3, and 4, as the investigation continues, he and his wife regularly hear disembodied voices throughout the home. Often the voice cusses, tells Kent to get out of there, asks for help, or tells him to be careful. When he's in the room with what he calls the witch's window, the spirit is even more vocal. It says, "We're not done. They're all weak." Kent also sees faces in the porch window, which he believes are spirits. After listening to all this, it's not a stretch to think that something bad happened in this house. And could that be what is causing the paranormal events that are happening in this house? I have no idea about the date, time, or location of this video. All I know is that it's supposedly been uploaded to the deep web because the original uploader didn't want to be tracked by the federal government in retaliation for getting their story out. A large bright blue object is quietly claiming the night sky outside of an apartment complex.
What is this? What is that? It's a one angel.
After a while, the sky blob stops in place and begins to expand outwards. Whatever it is, by the end of the video, it seems to take up nearly half of the sky. If this is real, then we probably would have never known any of this had ever happened without the anonymous deep web. If you thought food tutorials were never scary, think again. This video, posted by YouTuber Post Content, entitled Food Tutorial, was published in August of 2019. Don't let the title fool you. You won't be learning how to bake a cake with this one. The video starts in what appears to be an abandoned home. A flashlight shines against the cinder block wall, while the man filming asks, "Do you hear that?"
Do you hear that?
The camera pans to the floor, where a box cutter lies on the ground. There are some rumbling noises and then a loud sound, after which a regular rumbling is heard, like a cell phone ringing on vibrate. The man walks down some wooden stairs onto a lower floor of the house. The vibrating sound continues.
Okay, calm down. They're in the box.
The man tells himself to calm down and says they're in the box. What's in the box or who? The viewer is left to guess. Somehow you want to know and you don't want to know at the same time. He heads towards a far room, saying if there's anything else, he'll put them in the box as well.
If there's anyone else, I'll put them in the box as well.
Things just got creepier. He wanders around this abandoned home talking to himself and exits through a doorway, which leads outside to a forested area. He wanders through the heavy shrubbery, looking for ghosts, mumbling in a whisper.
Around in the bushes trying to find a strange noise.
He then comes across a rope. He follows the rope, then it falls dark. As his flashlight returns, you can see something red on the ground, but it's hard to tell what it is. He walks further, filming the ground. Still, it's unclear what exactly he's looking for. It appears he's arrived at a shed or barn with a vehicle and some farm equipment inside. There lies a bale of hay. Leaning against the bale is a sign that simply reads, "Hungry?" Atop the hay bale appears to be a head of cauliflower. The man puts down the camera, and you see a shadow lift the cauliflower to eat. He says eating it will keep them away, then is followed by a strange monologue including a foreign language which, as some have said in the comments section, is Danish.
Men jeg er så træt. Jeg kan ikke huske en tid før jeg var i det her hus.
If this is a tutorial about anything, it's about not eating a random head of cabbage sitting atop a hay bale at night. You might lose a tooth, but the question remains, what's in the box? A YouTuber named Alex Hayes and his friends find a cool looking stone perch overlooking the beach below. The good weather has them in high spirits and it isn't long before they are playing around near the ledge. Alex wants to impress everyone with a headstand, but it doesn't exactly work out as planned.
Holy sh... Oh. Don't do that to me, Al. Oh my goodness. Holy... Oh.
Pause here and you'll see how close Alex was to tumbling over. He barely catches himself with his right hand, and if his right leg went back any further, then he would have definitely lost his balance. A kid feels suddenly and inexplicably watched from the front door. He looks through the peephole and can't believe what he sees. He grabs his phone to show us that his apartment is haunted by a ghost. It looks like something scary is peeking at him from around the corner. It's creepy beyond belief, but look at this bright fluorescent light. I think he's using the light to bend a basic lens flare into the appearance of a figure. If so, then this video could help explain how a lot of other supposed ghost sightings were really just tricks of light caught on camera. But if that's not the case, then I have no explanation for what he managed to record that night. A janitor is closing up a restaurant in San Francisco called The Chapel, which is said to be haunted by the ghost of a small girl. As soon as he is done locking the door, something tries to leave and then runs away. If she was afraid of getting locked in, why didn't she bang on the door to be let out? Also, how come she didn't say anything when all of the lights turned off? On the contrary, if this was instead a real person trying to sneak in, then she probably wouldn't immediately try to open the door because it could set off an alarm. I guess she could just be making sure the janitor really is leaving. But since this restaurant is said to be haunted by the ghost of a small girl, I believe this could be her. After cutting a giant hole into a concrete wall, YouTuber Cyrex686 climbs through the hole to show us the secret room he's found beyond the wall. It's not big, but it is something, he says, noting that there's an unconnected pipe coming diagonal down the wall in the room. In one corner of the ceiling, there's a hook. At another point in the wall, another pipe juts out, but leads nowhere. A pile of wood is piled on the ground, tied with a length of rope. The point of this secret room is unclear. Whether it has no utility or some secret use, we may never know. This video stands as a clear warning to always verify who is at your door before you answer it. This ring video was originally posted to TikTok by Wynn's Home Awareness. The video shows a man wearing a hood approaching the door of this residence. It's nighttime. He rings the doorbell, and when the homeowner opens it, the man immediately enters without asking. It's clear he is a stranger. When the homeowner tells the man he needs to leave, the intruder starts stammering incomprehensibly.
Who are you? Aaron right now. How are you? You need to leave. How far? Out there. What's the reason here?
The homeowner has to physically grab the man's arm and shove him outside. As he slams the door shut, the man starts pounding on it.
What? What's the stairs here? Come on, where are you going? What's the stairs here? Goodbye.
Even though he's now locked out, the intruder stands on the front step looking in. He tries the handle several times, just waiting there. What are this man's intentions? We can only guess, but I'd wager they aren't good. Kriparian is live streaming some Hearthstone when he gets into a scary Twitch moment that has his subscribers screaming that there's a ghost in the window. The unknown person leaves for a bit and then comes back only to open the door and help himself to something right by the door. Within 3 seconds, he is gone again.
Actually, where is my bag? Where's the bag?
Knowledge is... His girlfriend goes out to investigate and finds them with the bag in one of the other rooms. They told her they thought it was theirs, but it's pretty clear from the sarcasm in Kriparian's reply that he doesn't believe them at all.
Oh, they thought it was their bag. Oh, yeah.
So this is one of the most popular and often talked about scary Twitch moments in the history of the platform, and yet a lot of people still don't know the full story. He was at a gaming event, and apparently the person at the window was another live streamer who was actually hanging out with them earlier. If you look really closely, he does seem to put his hand up and knock on the glass at 25 seconds to try and get their attention. Nobody hears him though, so rather than disturb the live stream any further, he quietly opens the door and takes what he thought he left behind. I really doubt that anyone would be foolish enough to take something from a popular live streamer who is blatantly live streaming to thousands of people, so it seems like a simple case of miscommunication that was later blown way out of proportion by the internet. A YouTuber named Seeking Legends has over 7 years worth of videos where he tracks down spirits and cryptids throughout the Las Vegas area and surrounding states. His subscribers know he doesn't play up his videos at all and isn't afraid to say when he thinks a location has nothing abnormal to offer. This wasn't the case when he went to a haunted forest on February 16, 2018 in search of the infamous White Witch, the spirit of a woman who once hiked this area a lot with her family and who was taken captive by unsavory locals. She escaped, but her family did not, and ever since then she has been roaming the woods looking for revenge. She cursed the land before taking her life in the very spot Cryptid Hunter stands now. He uses a paranormal dowsing rod, which is said to be able to tap into supernatural energy to better communicate with any nearby spirits. It isn't long before he finds one to speak with.
Can you point the rod to me? You see that I'm not moving this.
And I do mean speak with. There are no approaching footsteps, so it's not someone hiking, just eerie voices carrying over the water, just like the legends say, and the voices patiently wait until the command is complete before talking again.
Spin the rod in the opposite direction of me.
I don't think it's his nerves moving the rod, and his hand looks almost completely still to me, so maybe there's some truth to this piece of equipment after all.
If you were a victim of somebody in here, can you make my rod spin, please?
Here is an even better close-up of his hand at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. As the spirits continue to turn it around and around, none of his fingers are moving at all in the slightest. When asked for additional confirmation that the White Witch is here, 2 strange notes play. If you don't think this is paranormal, then tell me what you think would have made this noise in the middle of the forest. Soon he feels a presence guiding him and uses the rod to determine where to go next.
If this is where you want me to be, stop spinning the rod. Now. Where are you standing? Point the rod.
These instructions are further confirmed using his EMF meter, and at the end is a strange beeping noise coming from deeper in the woods that the EMF meter can't even make.
If this is where you wanted me to stand.
And just to prove it wasn't a coincidence, he easily gets it to respond again.
Can you do that again? Thank you.
There's no button on the meter for him to press to make it go up, supernatural or not. This was all the work of an external force of some kind. Every time he challenges the witch to move the meter, it does so without fail. Like here, for example, the timing is too much of a coincidence to be fake.
Unless you can make this device go on, then I'm not gonna believe that anything is here, haunting this area.
Apparently, it must have grown frustrated using the EMF meter over and over again, so it decides to answer his demands in a different way.
Make the lights go on. If you are the soul...
And before you say these are just lightning bugs, look again. They go from left to right one time, and then start over again in the exact same spot, so it's likely not an insect. It's getting dark soon, and the park closes, so Seeking Legends has to leave. Hopefully someday he returns to resume the conversation. But witch spirits aren't his only specialty. As mentioned before, Seeking Legends has experience hunting cryptids too. The desert cave is said to be plagued by skinwalkers, skinwalkers, vicious tricksters of Native American legend who can assume a semi-human animal-like form. He isn't able to go down far because of breathing problems, but his worries start no sooner than the entrance when this glow stick, hung up as a marker to avoid getting lost, begins to sway in place all on its own. He's nowhere near where it begins to move, and maybe it's just me, but it looks like it's swinging even harder 3 minutes later, definitely not slowing down. Then outside of the cave, he hears what could be a Native American drum.
Listen, I hope the camera's catching that.
Hello?
And with one hand on the camera and the other visible, the angle shows it couldn't have been him making the noise.
Please tell me you guys heard that.
I will admit that the drums are a little hard to hear, but this last part isn't. Try to tell me what this voice is saying, because it sounds like it might be a different language to me, perhaps even backwards. I'm interested to see if you think this is a skinwalker or voiceover editing. It sounds like it's coming from behind the camera to me, but I'm not sure. German ghost hunter Cubanito goes exploring an abandoned haunted house for one of the scariest 3 a.m. videos I've analyzed in quite some time. The haunted house has long been abandoned in the woods. Getting inside is quite a chore because an unsafe wooden ladder is missing many steps. Inside is a dark and heavy feeling that makes them whisper nervously. A missing section of wall shows a hidden room under the steps.
Fernsehen und so. Hey, warte, guck mal. Haut ab, ey. Jetzt verlängere ich's gerade. Komm.
They hear a loud noise and run outside, but they didn't come here to get scared off in the first few minutes, so they continue the 3 a.m. paranormal investigation and go in. This time they manage to get upstairs and come to a door painted solid black at the end of a long dark hall. They are beyond freaked out, but nobody wants to quit, so against their better judgment they open the door. In this decrepit little bedroom they find a warning written on the dresser. I feel like it's a warning about a ghost, but the Google translation is so off that I won't even bother telling you what it says. If any of my German subscribers could tell me what this means, I would really appreciate it. The second word definitely looks like stop. They start to prod the door open but cannot bring themselves to. It's probably for the best. Who knows what was in there? Probably nothing good. There's one room left to check out on the top floor. This room looks like it's seen a lot of party action. It might even still be inhabited by some. They start to worry about the floor breaking, and that's when it might actually start to.
Was kann ich alle auf einem Flex mal was einbricht?
Stopp. Scheiße, Mann.
Ja, los geht, was geht?
A snapping noise sends them all running out of the house before their 3 a.m. challenge becomes a 3 a.m. rescue. A woman by the name of Cecilia Carrasso in Chile strode past the reception desk at a law office in 2015 when she was attacked by something invisible. As you watch the CCTV video, Cecilia is strolling with a young woman towards the reception desk when she reportedly felt something push her with such force that it caused her to fall backwards hard. You can see Cecilia chatting with the woman and gesturing at something when suddenly, out of nowhere, she falls flat on her back. She doesn't just slip, she absolutely appears as though she was pushed. I wasn't aware of anyone in front of me as I passed the reception desk talking to a girl, and as I looked up towards the receptionist, I suddenly felt 2 pairs of hands shove me over, Cecilia said. She later added, I hit the floor, and when I looked up, I couldn't see anybody, and I thought they must have run off. When Cecilia asked the receptionist who had pushed her, she was told that nobody had. Cecilia didn't believe the receptionist until she was shown footage of the incident. After seeing it, she was sure that she had been the victim of a ghost attack since there was absolutely nobody around her. Cecilia's doctors reported that her injuries were consistent with a fall. but that she'd also received a large blow to the head, which may have caused confusion about what she felt and about her injuries, but that doesn't explain what happened in this creepy CCTV footage. So there's this really weird video of some strange lights in the sky that needs a closer analysis.
How many were there? 30?
30. Then they just disappear. Look, here comes more.
Basically, this guy has caught mysterious things on camera floating over where he lives in Metairie, Louisiana. His confused reaction soon spreads to other houses as more people react to the unusual lights above.
There's like 30 of them.
They keep coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is the real deal.
So let's get this straight. He sees almost 30 odd lights and another neighbor verifies that they've seen them for days on end, seemingly from nowhere. What they've caught on camera cannot be explained by them, so they turn to the YouTube community for help. I think I can help solve the mystery on this one.
Those aren't Japanese lanterns, are they?
Are they?
No, because they're all going the same. It's like a little paper balloon, and you put the wick in it, and it lifts it up, and then...
Maybe it is.
He means a Chinese lantern. I looked it up and the Lantern Festival is celebrated on the same day this video was made, so hopefully this settles other videos of mysterious lights in the sky caught on this specific day once and for all. Alcatraz. A man is walking around the infamous Alcatraz when he picks up two possible paranormal encounters. I'll start with the weirdest one first. He is inspecting a row of holding cells when a loud voice seems to call out to him with a single question. It sounds to me as if the deep voice is asking one simple word: why? The second possible encounter occurs as he is entering another part of the prison. Listen to this strange and haunting laugh. This one has a fairly reasonable explanation. Alcatraz is on an island, so maybe this was a bird call echoing off the prison's walls. I can't tell for sure, so let me know what you think about these two events. Thank you so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you.